People often ask me why I surf. I've tried to explain why I feel the way I do, and it's impossible. Only surfers get it. The rush, the addiction, the way it stirs your heart, plays with your head, and tortures your body. Yet you keep coming back for more. But let me try to paint a picture for you of what it's like to be in my shoes, or in this case, on my board. Imagine straddling and balancing yourself on a foam board in the open ocean. You notice a rise in the sea, an oblong bump coming rapidly toward you. You spin your board toward shore and dig your arms into the water, straining to pick up speed from a dead start. Sometimes it's agony. Concentrating on your paddling, you barely notice as the approaching wave gently lifts you up. You keep on paddling, but now, as the wave brushes over the reef below, the gentle slope suddenly stands up straight and tall, and you feel the sudden pull of gravity. You and the board begin to drop down the vertical face of the wave. This is it. One wrong move now, and you will pitch head over heels with your surfboard into the trough of the wave, the place where all the energy and power of the throwing wave will be focused. No choice but to take it head on. So in one smooth move, you push up with your arms and swing your feet up underneath you. You're standing. As you feel your board drop down the face of the wave, you suddenly realize that you are moving diagonally across a wave that is both going forward toward the beach and at the same time moving up and down. Yes, this is the dance you have worked so long and hard to do. But I don't think so much about it anymore. I just do it. How long and how well can you do it? Much of that depends on your skill to turn, cut back, speed through fast-breaking sections, and slow down enough for the lip of the wave to throw completely over you, tucking you in a green cocoon for a moment before spitting you out into the clear, a maneuver called getting tubed. But as skilled as you are, sometimes nature is smarter, stronger, and tougher. The wave may suddenly take control and completely envelope you, dragging you to the bottom. Call that a wipeout or dirty lickings in surf speak. There are other times, however, when nature is on your side. The wave, the conditions, and the dance all come together into an experience that penetrates you so deeply that you find yourself talking about that ride over and over again, so often that your non-surfer friends moan, "Oh, no, not again." But all you want to do is relive it, to stay in that moment forever. Some people ask me if it feels like when you're on a roller coaster, the thrill and the fear and the flip-flop in your stomach. Yes, it does sometimes, but that's not even a fraction of what it's all about. It's not just adrenaline. Surfing is a force that moves you body and soul. So this is why I do it. This is why I endure arms so sore and weak that when they feel like wet noodles, this is why I swallow gallons of salt water and get up at the crack of dawn day after day. This is why I am a surfer. Living in a world of what ifs. What about sharks? That question is asked countless times to surfers, especially by those whose sports rarely take them near the ocean. The typical response is a half fatalistic, half que sera. Well, if your number is up. Me? When I was asked, I'd usually just shrug and try not to think about it. And truthfully, this isn't false courage. To constantly dwell on what might happen would totally suck the joy out of the sport. Besides, it's like asking, what if the roller coaster comes off the track? It has happened. What if the horse throws you? What if you get hit in the head with the baseball, the puck, or the golf ball? What if you crash on the bike, get run over while jogging, or break your neck in a fall while water skiing, climbing, or snowboarding, or get bitten by a rattler while hiking? See what I mean? Life is full of what ifs. You can't let it hold you back. If you do, you're not really living at all, just kind of going through the motions with no meaning. So you play it smart and take some precautions. Some surfers won't surf during dusk or dawn in places known to have an active shark population. Many prefer to have a buddy with them while surfing, as being the only bait out at a surf spot is just a little too creepy. Any surfer who gets cut on a reef from his surfboard fins is considered chumming for trouble and advised to get out of the water right away. Sharks can smell blood and might be baited by it. The fact is, most surfers, even veteran surfers, have never seen a shark while in the water, but that doesn't mean they aren't there. Usually the animals dart by like a shadow sliding underneath the dangling legs of the surfer, except in Hollywood movies like Jaws. It is very rare for sharks in the wild to knife through the water with their dorsal fin exposed. They prefer to move silently and stealthily underwater, a total surprise to their victims. The history of surfing. The history of surfing is something surf nuts pride themselves on knowing. It's as important as, say, the Mayflower docking on Plymouth Rock. Here, in a nutshell, is Surfing Story 101. Mark Twain tried surfing while on a visit to Hawaii in the 1800s. He found it much harder than it looked. The board went one way, Twain went another, and as surfers say, he ate his lunch and ended his lesson. The first Westerners to set eyes on the sport of surfing were the crew of the Endeavour, the ship that Captain Cook commanded. History tells us that the chiefs, or alihi, of Hawaii were renowned for their skills at surfing. Because early Hawaii had a strict caste system keeping the nobles and commoners from mingling, the best surf spots and the best hardwood surfboards were the domain of the kings. Some historians suggest that only the kings were permitted to stand erect on their boards, while the rest of the surfing population had to be satisfied with riding prone. Songs and stories were told to celebrate the great surfers, and until horses arrived in the islands, the racetrack for gambling was centered around surfing contestants racing from one buoy to another while trying to knock their opponents off the wave. The first Caucasian to surf was a missionary in the 1800s, enthusiastically trying out a koa wood board in the waves off tiny Nehua. Other surfers surfed with their Hawaiian friends after their duties. In the early 1900s, with the Kingdom of Hawaii now a territory of the United States, strong young Hawaiian watermen emerged who reinvigorated the sport. Led by Olympic swim star Duke Kahanamoku, Waikiki Beach boy George Freeth, and with the help of famous writer Jack London, surfing became part of the new mystique of Hawaii. The sport blossomed again and soon was taking root in other ocean communities besides Hawaii. World War II put a temporary damper on the sport, but at the same time exposed many young servicemen to the rolling waves of Waikiki. While the war slowed the growth of surfing, it was the technology coming out of the war effort that in the end helped to give the sport a new boost, as it led to the advent of lightweight surfboards. Surfboards became cheaper and more accessible to the average person. Eventually, Hollywood discovered the sport, and using the theme of surfing in their music and films, created a media frenzy for everything surf-related, causing interest in the sport to skyrocket in the early 60s. Many of the older surfers resented the sudden influx of kooks and gremmies, names given to pretenders, beginners, or wannabes, as well as the crowding of their surf spots and the intrusion into their simple, relaxed lifestyle. Others saw business potential and decided to try to make a living by connecting themselves with the sport they loved. Young surfing movie makers began to turn their cameras toward the ocean and created a series of documentary-style 60mm films, often with humorous narration, a few bikinis, and lots of incredible surfing and breathtaking wipeouts. These low-budget projects would be taken from beach town to beach town, playing in rented halls or theaters for rowdy, packed crowds of surfers. Surf contests, ratings, and point systems began to develop, as some in the sport saw the potential for surfing to gain the status of other professional sports. But for every young kid signing up to enter a contest, there was another youngster turning his back on professionalism, holding it as the antithesis of the heart and spirit of surfing, a debate that continues to this day. Clothing companies, often small, surf-oriented families with a sewing machine, found themselves swamped with orders as the nation wanted to take on the look of the surf crowd. Some, like Hang Ten, Quicksilver, Rip Curl, and Ocean Pacific, would become powerful business entities through the surfing culture. Progress in design and materials brought about the shortboard revolution in the late 60s, opening the door of surfing to those who were intimidated by the weight and heft of longboards. And the resulting reduction in length and weight went a long way toward making the sport more inviting to women. Money began to lubricate the sport. Big sponsors stepped in to offer prize money for contests. Clothing and surf gear companies started paying talented young men and eventually a few women to ride and compete for them. Surfers are pushing the extremes of the sport farther and farther to the place where only a handful of experts can handle the crazy-sized surf that is being ridden.